So with Irene developing as it is, and with the potential for Irene to move into an environment by tomorrow that is significantly more conducive for intensification, we're going to have to really watch Irene as it intensifies, as it approaches North Carolina. So let's go over my track, which really hasn't changed all that much. Now the red track here is the more significant track that I have forecasted. And here's Irene right now, and I'm expecting it to track to the north. And notice I have a little bit more of a west jog to this just in case, because what I think will be a building Western Atlantic Ridge to push this a little bit further west. And then, as I have been forecasting, really there hasn't been much change from 6:30 yesterday morning to what I have now. We have Irene moving across eastern North Carolina. Now it could waver anywhere from where I have it now to the Outer Banks. At any rate, this location around North Carolina is in significant trouble for a major hurricane. And then, obviously, as we move up into the forecast, this is by Sunday morning, I expect Irene to be in this location here. Now, by this point, Irene should be weakening. Why? Because the waters around here are in the 70s, and you need 80-degree water to keep hurricane strong and intensifying. And also I should see some more wind shear starting to develop from the southwest that should start to push Irene a little bit faster along. It's actually going to move slower than what you would normally see a hurricane move. I'm looking for anywhere from about 12 to 16 miles per hour, and we could actually end up where normally we would expect a hurricane to move around 25 miles per hour. With a hurricane moving this slowly, the potential for very heavy rainfall in this location is very high. Now what I'm expecting with Irene is this. It should be weakening as it's moving north along the New Jersey coast, but it's still going to be a hurricane. It's still going to have a pretty significant storm surge associated with it, at least 5 feet. And I think that's going to be driven into New York City. It's going to be driven into Long Island, and it's going to impact the New Jersey coast. Combine that, there will be winds over 75 miles per hour sustained. That's not the gust, that's sustained winds as Irene moves to the north and along the New Jersey coast and through the New York City metropolitan area. Wind gusts could be as high as 100 miles per hour. The question here during this time period is just how fast Irene will weaken. Tropical lows can be very tricky, and while one would expect Irene to weaken, sometimes boundary layer interactions and mechanics can at times even intensify a warm core low along a coastline. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on Sunday morning. If you are in eastern Pennsylvania, I don't expect the worst impacts obviously to be in eastern Pennsylvania, but you have a lot of tropical moisture being thrown into eastern Pennsylvania and along the Appalachian Mountains. And while I do expect the western side of our hurricane to start to collapse and become more ragged as it's moving north, I still think that there will be very heavy downpours and the potential for significant flash flooding throughout eastern Pennsylvania. So yes, you won't see the worst of it like if you're in Scranton or Allentown, but you'll still deal with a significant rainfall event and gusty winds. And considering that the rivers are already stressed in northwestern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, basically almost the entire northern Mid-Atlantic, flash flooding will not be difficult to occur, and it will be a problem, so be prepared for that. If you're along the immediate coast, we got the whole gambit to worry about. We got coastal flooding, very strong wind gusts, very heavy rainfall, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches of rain, if not more, and considering again that rainfall amounts in this area are well above normal for this month, flash flooding will be easy to occur. Now, if you're in the New York City metropolitan area, one thing to consider, even if Irene is weakening, and let's say that Irene completely collapses and becomes a tropical storm by the time it reaches Manhattan. Okay, so you have 50 mile per hour winds in between two large buildings. Those 50 mile per hour winds rapidly become much stronger, and because of that enhancement between the buildings, and you end up with wind gusts over 100 miles per hour. It's possible, it's probably going to happen, and something that you really need to consider moving forward. So, that is the forecast for Irene. I expect it to move out by Sunday night. Conditions will improve from southwest to northeast. I would not be surprised as it's moving into Connecticut that Irene starts to pick up more extratropical features, which basically means dry air tries to rush in, and you'll see more of a comma shape to Irene than you would when it first reaches the southern New Jersey coast. But regardless, it's going to be a major rain producer even for New England, and also very strong winds. So at the best case scenario, we're looking at a powerful nor'easter if you are in the interior, and worst case scenario, a hurricane potential that we haven't seen since about 1985 with Gloria. I think that's 85. I was a kid back then, but you get the idea. This is a dangerous situation, and you need to prepare for it, especially if you're along the New Jersey coast. Get your supplies ready, figure out your evacuation routes, and take this storm seriously. I just want to bring up one more point with the model guidance. This is the GFS model guidance from the Penn State EWOL website. And the reason why I want to point this out is I was warning that the models really wouldn't get an idea on this trough until it got into a more favorable area of analysis and able to sample the actual trough. Well, now it can sample the actual trough because it's in Western Canada. And as a result, well, lo and behold, our hurricane is much further west. And it looks like it's zeroing in on the track that I laid down yesterday. And it's because this trough is weaker, and instead of kicking it out, it's going to entrain the hurricane into the New Jersey coast, or into the coastal plain, rather than kicking it out into the Atlantic. This is a dangerous situation. I will have live coverage of this hurricane starting early Sunday morning. So follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and of course at nynjpaweather.com for the latest information.